Get a loan commitment letter from your bank. If you need a loan to close, meaning you can't just fund the purchase all cash if you can't get a mortgage, then it's imperative to start the process of getting a mortgage commitment letter as soon as possible. In Florida, where the option to back out lies with the buyer, we recommend starting the loan approval process as soon as you have an accepted offer on a place you're fairly confident that you'll go through with. Of course, if you intend to renegotiate hard and potentially back out during the inspection period, then it would make sense to wait until the inspection period is over before pushing hard for loan approval. Since you already have a mortgage pre-approval letter from one or two banks, the process should be faster as you aren't starting from scratch. As we discussed previously, you'll typically have 30 to 45 days post-contract execution to back out if you are not able to receive loan approval. The standard contract also states that you'll have to make a bona fide mortgage loan application within a certain number of days, typically 5, after contract execution. If you aren't able to obtain loan approval after the exercise of diligent effort, then at any time prior to expiration of the loan approval period, buyer may provide a written notice to seller stating that buyer has been unable to obtain loan approval and has elected to either, end quote, waive the contingency or terminate the contract. Pro tip: even after the loan approval has been obtained or the financing contingency has been waived, buyers still have a way out of the contract if, quote, the appraisal of the property obtained by buyer's lender is insufficient to meet terms of the loan approval, in which event the buyer shall be refunded the deposit, thereby releasing buyer and seller from all further obligations under this contract, end quote. However, you should push your lender to schedule the property appraisal as early as possible in the process. Title commitment and examination. A title commitment is done by the title insurance company, who often also serves as the escrow agent. And a title insurance commitment is issued to the buyer typically at least 5 to 15 days prior to closing, per the standard Florida contract. In addition to being required by lenders, a title examination is extremely important to verify that the chain of title for the property is unbroken and unambiguous. A deed with a mistake in the previous chain of title, such as a missing deed in the property's history, or a lien or judgment, can cause serious financial consequences if missed and you do not have title insurance. Other examples of title defects include tax liens, construction liens, judgments, inheritance claims, and mortgage liens. Once you've received the title commitment, you'll have: what are the steps of title search and examination process? The title order is submitted. The lender or the buyer's agent submits a request for title to a closing attorney after a contract is fully executed and the initial deposit is wired. This request can often be done via a form on the attorney's website or by sending a brief transaction summary to the attorney. A copy of the contract is also sent to the closing attorney. The file is processed. The closing attorney orders important tax information relating to the status of the property taxes owed, loan payoff statements, property surveys, HOA estoppel letters, home inspection reports, and insurance certificates. The closing attorney will also order a lien and judgment search report and a title search report. The title search is done. A deep dive is done through public records for liens, judgments, mortgages, deeds, divorce settlements, easements, and anything else that might cloud the title to the property. After all relevant documents are located, the title insurance underwriter prepares a title search report and sends it to the closing attorney. The title examination process begins. The closing attorney issues a title commitment to the buyer and lender, if applicable, based on the information contained in the title search report. The closing attorney then thoroughly reviews the report to determine whether there are any clouds to the title that need to be cleared prior to closing. Get a home insurance policy. Even though condo owners are no longer required by Florida state law to purchase a home insurance policy, your HOA or lender may still require you to purchase condo insurance. Fortunately, the cost of this will be relatively minor, as your condo association is already required to carry insurance, which typically covers the exterior, land, common areas, shared amenities, elevators, and systems, as well as flood insurance. The condo insurance that you will purchase is described as walls-in coverage, meaning it covers your personal property, personal liability, and some interior structural elements of your home, like the interior of your walls and floors. Review closing costs and seller property disclosure. At some point after your contract execution, you can expect to receive a seller property disclosure form as well as a good faith estimate, or GFE, of your closing costs. The seller is responsible for filling out the former, and the title insurance company is responsible for sending you the latter. What is the seller's property disclosure form? Florida law requires every seller to fill out this form and disclose to the buyer all known facts that materially affect the value of the property being sold and that are not readily observable or known by the buyer. Real estate agents in South Florida commonly tell buyers that sellers do not need to do research to find the answer to the questions, and that they only need to answer to the best of their ability and according to what they know. They have a right to check the "don't know" box for as many questions as they want. Nonetheless, it's still comforting for most buyers to see what sellers come back with for questions like, has the unit been treated for termites, other wood-destroying organisms, including fungi or pests? What is the good faith estimate? The good faith estimate is an estimate of all charges and credits due at closing, meaning what you'll have to pay at closing minus any credits given to you. This estimate is provided by the title insurance company. Here is an example for an all-cash purchase of a condo in Miami, Florida. As you can see, closing costs in Miami are substantially lower than closing costs in NYC. For the all-cash condo purchase in the example we showed, closing costs for the buyer are approximately 0.6% of the contract price. Please note that the June assessments shown from April 15th to April 30th in the example above refers to half of April's condo common charges owed by the buyer since the transaction closes on April 15th. In Miami, real estate professionals will often interchangeably use the term assessments with the term common charges. In this example, the title company is not referring to any special assessments per se that New Yorkers are accustomed to. Pro tip: why is the buyer in the above example receiving a credit for property taxes? Because property taxes are paid in arrears in Miami-Dade County. So if the above hypothetical transaction is due to close on April 15th, 2021, then property taxes for 2020 have already been paid and property taxes for 2021 are not due until March 2022. However, the county does offer a small 1% discount to owners who pay their property taxes early. The county releases new tax bills on November 1st every year. Conduct final walkthrough before closing. Buyers are contractually entitled to a final walkthrough inspection of the property the day prior to closing per the standard purchase contract in Florida. On the day prior to closing date or on a closing date prior to time of closing as specified by buyer, or buyer's representative may perform a walkthrough and follow-up walkthrough if necessary, inspection of the property solely to confirm that all items of personal property are on the property and to verify that the seller has maintained the property as required by the as-is maintenance requirement and has met all other contractual obligations. Per the standard Florida contract, the seller's obligations to maintain property in the same conditions seen and ideally documented by photos or videos as of the contract execution date is as follows. See screen. Document preparation and the closing. Even though buyers and sellers do not need their own attorney for most transactions in Florida, a closing attorney who often owns the title company and/or is an agent of the title insurance company is necessary for title search and examination process, document preparation, and to act as a closing coordinator. For example, once all parties are satisfied and ready to proceed with the closing, the Florida closing attorney will gather all the necessary documents such as the deed, the bill of sale, various affidavits, the FIRPTA certificate, as well as the closing statement. If the buyer is financing, the buyer's lender will submit its own set of closing instructions to the closing attorney, so its various fees, charges, and escrows can be reflected on the closing statement. A good closing attorney will send drafts of all the closing documents around well in advance so any revisions can be approved with plenty of time before closing. On closing day, the closing attorney will act as a closing coordinator and oversee all aspects of the transaction and answer any questions that parties may have. The closing attorney will make sure the various parties sign the correct documents, such as making sure the buyer signs the loan documents and both parties sign the HUD-1 settlement statement. The closing attorney will then make sure all the relevant parties that need to be paid are paid and that the right documents are sent to the county to be recorded in public records. Pro tip: this is when your buyer's agent will receive half of the total commission, typically 6%. If you've signed up for a Hauseit buyer closing credit, then you will be eligible to receive up to 2% of the typical 3% buyer agent commission by check post-closing. My name is Chris at Hauseit. I'm one of the co-founders at Hauseit and also one of the partner brokers. We hope you've enjoyed this video, and please hit like or subscribe if you like what you see. If you have any questions, leave us a comment below, and we hope to see you on the next one.